For the days.
Yeah.
Those are the days. All right, guys, we're back for another episode of Talking Preps. We got some winter weather on the way. We're filming this on Saturday, which is a day early we normally do. I hope everybody has power by the time you see this, or if you can see this. But we'll be right back when we get started with the show. So, Mr. Clark, normally I start the show asking you what caught your eye last week, but I'm jumping on you this week. I want to talk about West Meck, which beat your Myers Park Mustangs. Had a massive celebration after the game. They were 0-25 last year, Randall. They're now 9-8. Your thoughts on them beating Myers Park and your thoughts in their season they're having so far?
I think there are a couple things to take from this. First off, kudos to West Meck. You know, they've really turned it around. Obviously, these kids like each other. It's a huge win for them, huge win for the program, and can be a season-changing victory. So, you know, congrats to them. I think in the Myers Park situation, it's one of those things where you can overlook it. They were probably already thinking about Huff, and I can tell you that they didn't come ready to play. They weren't locked in. And one thing is sometimes when you give a team belief and you let the game stay close and you let them believe that they can win, things like this happen. So I think it was a really important lesson for Myers Park. Very difficult because they've been up and down kind of all season. They've won some games that we didn't expect them to win. They lost some games where we didn't expect them to lose. So, they had this loss on Tuesday but did a great job bouncing back on Friday.
Yeah, Richard, you were at the game. Did you see this coming?
No, and I know Randall knows them better than I do, but I was going to disagree with him a little bit. I think it came too easy for Myers Park early because he had 5 3-pointers. I think they thought that was going to keep playing out that way. West Meck, I guess, mucked the game up a little bit in the second half because the only 2 threes they hit were Awasano, and they were almost like hand grenade threes, and they were down, and he had to just shoot a shot. So the shooting eluded Myers Park, and and obviously got to give West Meck credit for creating some pressure on that. But it all looks good when they're making shots, and it looked real good for Myers Park early when they had 5 in the first half. In the second half, that really didn't go well for them, and I just walked away impressed with the determination that West Meck played with. And to Randall's point, maybe Myers Park didn't match that intensity and energy. I talked to, Anton Jameson, the father of the point guard at Myers Park. He kind of felt a little bit like that. He thought the refereeing was somewhat inconsistent. I would agree with him. It was a fascinating game because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this team was 0-25 last year. How in the world are they doing this? But if you didn't know they were 0-25 and watch them now, you wouldn't think that of them. And that's a credit to their coach, obviously.
Yes. Rick, what do you think about the job that Chris Ewell is doing at West Meck? Because I agree with what Richard is saying, but West Meck's still winning these games.
Well, he's done a remarkable job, no question about it. I think, looking at him, he's 29 years old, and I've known Chris for quite some time. He did a really good job at Carolina International. Now, to say that I thought he was going to turn it around at West Meck, I said yes, but for him to turn it around this quickly, no. I mean, they're sitting there 9-8 with some impressive wins early. But, the team carries on his personality because he's one of these guys at 29 years old. He relates very well to the players on the team. He has a mentality that they're not going to quit, and he's very disciplined. And he really is demanding on all his players. I've watched him from the sidelines, and I've been impressed with his mannerism and how he holds the kids accountable today just to play hard. And that's one thing that we're not seeing consistently from a number of coaches and players and teams today.
Richard caught up with one of the stars of that game, Rylan Leak, after the win. Let's hear what he had to say.
Well, after losing 3 in a row, kind of a must game, what did this feel like? Obviously, it didn't start the way you wanted to, but y'all kind of stayed with it and kept coming.
Yes, sir. We've been working, so we had a whole week off, a whole bye week, so we just been at practice all week, just working on the things we need to clean up. And today, I felt like we fought hard as a team and executed the things that we need to.
What was the big change? Because I think they were up 10 and hitting a bunch of 3-pointers. What did you do to kind of change the momentum of the game?
I would say defense. Like I was picking up 94 feet. My other teammates, some of them were picking up 94 feet. We were just playing hard the whole game.
Once you got ahead of them, what did you think, and how did you find ways to kind of hold on and close that game out?
We just had to value possessions, value each possession, not turn the ball over, take smart shots, smart plays, and just play smart.
And obviously, with Myers Park playing Huff on Friday, you guys make a statement that, hey, we're a title contender too, I would think.
Yes, sir. That's what we've been working for. So I just hope the rest of the conference sees what we on.
And I'll say, talking to Coach Ewell, a thing he said to me really struck me. He said, yes, I know they were 0-25 last year, but if I don't come in here talking about trying to win a conference championship, they're going to think they can't do it. Now, and obviously every coach wants to think that, but he said he struck me as had a real strong conviction to say, I talked to the kids about this from day one. And I got to believe there's some eye rolling. If you're a returning from an 0-25 team and the new coach is talking about winning a conference championship, how realistic is that in a league like this? But
and those kids have never had a winning. Those kids have never had a winning record on that team, right? That's just an amazing turnaround. Go ahead, Gary.
We're talking about the coach, and he deserves kudos. But think about who hired him. Yeah. Think about the AD they have over there now, Ryan Lutz.
From Chambers, Lutz.
He came from Chambers. While he was at Chambers was in the state championship football game 4 years in a row. When he was there, they won 3 state women's titles while he was there
in a row,
right? And the basketball team was, top notch. The only problem is North was in the same conference,
right?
So he has seen how you build an athletic program from his days at Vance/Chambers.
Yeah.
And I think now that, he just hired a new football coach 2 weeks ago. We had on the show last week, and Randall Ingram got a new basketball coach. He's flipping that whole athletic program, not just boys basketball. He's bringing a new type of alignment and focus to West Meck. And it's good to see, because back when I was coaching, West Meck used to be good in everything.
They were, but I think people forget that even back in the 80s and 90s when West Charlotte Hardy was there, West Meck was
when I was coaching in the 90s.
I'm saying
in
even
the early 2000s, they were good at football. They were good at basketball. I mean, they were around and they were very good at baseball.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So the Myers Park girls beat West Meck on Tuesday. They're 14-5 right now, Randall. They lost the best girls coach in Mecklenburg County history in any sport, in Barbara Nelson, and they're making a run. And Summer Thompson had a big game. I want to get your thoughts about the Mustangs after we hear from Summer.
This season started slowly for you guys, but this is 10 out of 11 and 4 in a row. I guess what's been going right?
We're just doing things right in practice. Carrying over our practices definitely works. Today we didn't play our best game, but we usually take these games and we just let it build us to the next level that we could play at. We've got 2 big games coming up, so we're just going to prepare ourselves to do better.
You had 3 3-pointers, and that seemed to kind of loosen up the defense and open up the lanes for your offense. Is that kind of the plan in your mind?
Yes, sir. Just letting it fly. If I can get shots to fall, then the defense might step up on me, and it opens my other teammates.
And when you started off, 1-3 and 2-4, were y'all kind of wondering what was going to happen, or did you realize you were playing really tough teams?
We realized we're playing really tough teams, and it's kind of really fueled us to play better, and we know that we had it in conference, and if we play at the level that we could win conference, hopefully.
Is that the expectation coming
yes,
in the year?
Yes, sir, it is.
Conference? All right, well.
Randall, would it surprise you if the Mustangs won the conference title?
No, it wouldn't. I think Coach Jalen, it's always interesting when you take that move over a seat. When you from assistant to head coach, a lot of things change. Myers Park is one of those teams where they played a lot of tough games early.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know with the realignment that conference isn't an easy one, and in conference play, those teams are going to beat up on each other. So it should be interesting once we get to the conference tournament.
I think nobody wants to be the man that follows the man, and Barbara Nelson is a bigger coach we've ever had. I will tell anybody I think she's the best girl coach in anything I've ever seen, followed by Zoe Bell, the volleyball coach now at Marvin Ridge, and to follow her has that be a tremendous amount of pressure. Isn't that right, Gary? You're a coach.
Oh yeah,
She got 800 wins.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to be that person that follows a legend, Hubert Davis. Because expectations are extremely high, but it still comes down to all great coaches have had great players.
Yeah,
and you have to remember that.
I do think it's a little. What I'm realizing is I never want to be the person to follow a legend, but I think in Coach Jay's case, it's been good because she was there with him. Like she was there at Myers Park with her for so many years that she was able to see how Coach Nelson did it. I'm sure she learned a lot from her. And now that she's the one in that first chair, she's able to put her own spin on it. The girls are comfortable with her because she's been with them since they got there. So I do think there were some benefits to hiring from within.
Yeah,
and she's doing a great job with it.
All right, well, look, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about some behavior in high school basketball games. We've seen some examples that aren't too good. We want to help you guys try to improve. We'll be right back after this message. Every week on Thursday and Saturday morning, get the latest in high school news from around the region in the Charlotte Observer's free newsletter, Talking Preps, the newsletter. Make sure you sign up now. All right, guys, we're back on Talking Preps. I did want to talk about some behavior issues. Rick and I had talked during the week about a few things. The first one, Rick, was at the Chambers North Meck game last week. A young man was ejected from the game, and I'll play it and I'll let you talk about it. But he was ejected for the game after this three-pointer. They call timeout. He comes on the court, and he's going to celebrate in front of the ref and do a gesture right there. I don't know if you guys caught it. He made a gun, like he was pointing a gun. The referee ejected him, walks over, ejects him. On social media, everybody was saying that referee was doing too much. Rick, was he doing too much?
Well, I spoke to Nate Walker, the head of the official, and just to get the ruling on that. And he said it is a state rule that they really want to crack down on the gun gesture, and it is automatic ejection from the game. I think basically it's a situation for most fans not knowing it. You would think that a technical would be sufficient and warranted in that situation. But I'm going to make an analogy here. It's sort of like, three situations. Basically the speed limit's 55 miles an hour and I'm doing 65, and you have one patrolman just sort of turns a blind eye to it, and you're doing 65, nothing happens. And then you have the other guy who pulls you over and stops and says, hey, you know what, Mr. Lewis, you were doing 10 miles over the speed limit. I'm going to give you a warning. You just need to be more careful. And then you have the other guy, the third guy, who just pulls you over and is going to write you a ticket for going 10 miles over the speed limit. In this situation, the official, he is a very good official. I think basically it's a situation where there's no gray area with this particular guy. He's going to enforce the rules exactly the ways the rules are written out. There's no black, it's just black and white. There's no gray area. Mm-hmm. I think it's a situation that, I would like for the officials to basically manage the net game instead of just controlling and dictating the game. The other thing too is, I think Coach Frazier was completely caught off guard with the technical foul or the ejection. And then of course, in that situation, he got a technical.
And the player has no idea why he's ejected. You can see him walking off. He has no idea.
He has no idea. And that's the state ruling.
Do coaches need to communicate that to players, those types of rules? Gary's not just head. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, every year when we go to the state coaches clinic, and I still go sometimes just to hear what's new, but they go over points of emphasis. Okay, that's why they make it mandatory that head coaches go, so that they know in the upcoming seasons what the officials are going to concentrate on. Okay, some years it's something just mundane like shirt tails, but if the state said, hey, these are, and they do a video slide, of the things, if they have a picture of it or if they have a video of it, they say, look, this is what we're concentrating on, okay? And so then it's incumbent of the coach to go back and communicate those things with the players, one of the things that was a point of emphasis when I was coaching was profanity on the court. Mm-hmm. And it never was directed at officials. A lot of times it's just frustration or one teammate talking to another and excitement and something like that. And that might be a part of their normal speech pattern, when they're around each other. But you can't say it. So, like what I would do, I didn't allow cussing in practice. Even though I knew teenagers cuss, I wouldn't allow it in practice. If you cursed in practice, pick up the medicine ball and we're going to do some laps with the medicine ball over your head.
Okay.
That was a way to reinforce certain things when you just walk in the gym. I'm not trying to police your life, but I'm trying to prevent you from hurting the team and hurting yourself in the future. We always discussed about, if an incident breaks out on the court, I had a coach who immediately, your job is to keep everybody on the bench. Okay. Yeah. And things like that. Scenario.
We're going to see that in just a second. We're going to see exactly that in just a second.
Well, I was going to say this. That was the first time I saw that tape. Yeah. Having been at Chambers Thursday night, I felt like Chambers was very involved in keeping the kids off of the blue, they said, because the West Charlotte Chambers game, there was a lot of emotion in that game, and the fans stayed in check. My take of it would be Chambers felt like that perhaps the technical was called because the kid went so far onto the court that he was close enough to the fans that there could have been an incident. And they were very diligent and over the top in some respects of keep off of the blue or we're going to take you out of here. Find a seat or go home.
Well,
and that was the very next game for Chambers. So I took that as the message that they took from the referee, that maybe the player was too far out on the court to celebrate with the player, and he wasn't even in the game. And I can imagine a referee might say that as well.
Yeah. Well, to your point, we've seen things got out of control is happen in Kentucky. Prestonburg and Belfry got heated after some physical. Wait, I may be in the wrong game. I'm sorry. In Kentucky, a middle school championship game was stopped after a fight broke out, and a man was tased. I want you guys to watch this.
James, this go get Justin.
And here we go.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get the ball game.
Hey.
Look here. This ball game's got to get over.
Yeah, let's go. This game's over. Ain't no sense doing this. We'll get somebody hurt bad. This game's over.
Yeah, you can't get this.
This game's over.
And they just tased dry. This ball game is over. Yeah, we're going to end our live feed. This game has got to come to an end.
Yeah, Ryan got tased. That's one of the craziest calls I think I've ever seen. And
then the thing that my reaction to it is, I hope I never see that, because I'm seeing a lot of close games typically. It's a little bit easier to call it when it's 48-30, but what do they do if it's a 62-62 tie? I mean, how do they navigate something like that?
Clear the gym.
The next day, clear the gym.
Yeah. Play the games with no fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy though.
I think officiating today has become more and more difficult. Even we go back to the situation that the Chambers at North Meck game, and I think Langston alluded to, the kid probably came too far out on the court. And it's a situation like if you didn't do anything at all and he came that far out, and it did incite some from the stands to come out onto the court, then we may have had the conversation saying, the officials didn't do enough. Right. I think the situation is officials have a very difficult job. And I think, we all have to sit back and we all have to do a better job, whether it's coaches, ADs, or whatever, just communicating, how we have to behave at sporting events. Now, the other situation is people are always complaining about the pricing of coming into an athletic event.
Yes.
Well, people don't understand, like in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, you're probably going to have 10 to 12 police officers for the game at North Meck and West Charlotte on Tuesday night. Well, they're getting $60 an hour.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what the school's paying for just for security itself. And that's where, if you look at youth sporting events today, is the security costs and also the officiating costs has gotten out of control. But it's based on one thing. It's based on fan behavior and also player behavior during the game.
Yeah, and what I don't want to see in basketball, I'll let you talk, Randall. What I don't want to see in basketball is what Gary and I saw in football, where they started limiting the amount of fans that could come to games and limiting the amount of tickets. Go ahead, Randall.
The big thing for me, I think that what we learned this week, if you pay attention to several games around the area, is like I do feel like the officials made some games about them. And that's the other thing you got to be careful of. I think in the, with what happened at Chambers, I think when you have assistant coaches as many as they have over there, like someone's got to be policing the fans. It sounds like they did that on Thursday. Yeah. But, Richard talked about it earlier, the officiating in that Myers Park West Meck game. It was very inconsistent. And I think referees already have a hard job. There's no need to make it worse. And then I think North had another game this weekend where on Friday night there was some questionable calls, I guess you can call it, made. So I think officiating's already hard enough, and there's no reason to make it even more difficult.
Yeah, and then
I sent you guys in our group chat. There's a video of an official in a high school game that flopped.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see that? The official flopped.
Yeah.
The coach approached the official, and it was a women's coach.
Yeah.
And she got close to him. She was questioning the call, and he had like she bumped him, and he was laid
he fell out, arms behind his head, and everything.
I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
So it's the players, it's the officials, and it's the crowd. It's not just one aspect of it. It's more.
Well, I think one thing that players can take from this is when something breaks out, don't get off the bench because you can hurt your team. And this happened in Kentucky. Prestonburg and Belfry, they got real physical, and one team stayed on the bench, one team didn't, and one team got a bunch of suspensions. I'm going to drop that.
Colton Young going to check back in. Getting back to your point, Daryl, Brody with the ball. I like him with the ball. Belfry's offense. They do move the ball a lot better and smoother.
Well, I think definitely in transition and half court set. I mean, Carter, he's got that thing on the string. Oh, looky there, Stumbo and Hayes. Oh. There, Pops are getting in, and
there's going to be mass suspensions here. We got several people throwing hands here. My. Several guys throwing fists here.
Yeah,
there's going to be several suspensions here.
So what you don't see is the white team come on the court at all, just the red team. So the red team got a bunch of guys suspended, the white team did not. And something like that can happen. If three players, isn't it three, Richard, to get in trouble off one team or Gary, they can take the whole team out of the playoffs.
I think that's correct. That's happened to some teams.
There is a rule. I know it's definitely one in football. If you have X number of players leave the bench, that team is disqualified from the state playoffs. Yeah. In fact, that's why the legislature got involved in the High School Athletic Association because something like that happened, and some politician didn't think it was right.
It was in Nancy County. Yep, correct.
Yeah, sure did. So,
as a longtime NBA guy, the late David Stern was so terrified of this stuff, particularly after the Malice at the Palace, the Knicks and the Heat, that in a weird sort of way, there hasn't been anything like that in NBA, because I do remember the comments that were always made whenever a melee like that would happen. The team that bench was closest to the melee was always at a disadvantage, because instinctually guys want to go out there and defend their players, and that's not a good thing. And, you end up, I think the kids watch the NBA enough, and when's the last time we've had one like that? It's been a while.
Yeah.
But the NBA was very sensitive to that issue, particularly after what happened at Auburn Hills, which, again, it's not even a gym anymore.
Well, I think there's one thing that, the parents and the kids that watch this show, and I know a lot of you do, is, kind of take digest what these guys are telling you. Stay on the bench. Don't get into it. It's not worth it. And coaches, educate your kids about the rules. Let's not make the Ja Morant symbols on the court, and maybe keep your celebrations closer to your bench.
Rick, how much of this, and not at your events, and you and Randall, y'all do the summer basketball circuit. Mm-hmm. How much of this you think is a carryover from summer behavior that goes into public school behavior once basketball?
Before Rick answers that question, let me just interject. In the summertime, I saw a kid playing with the cell phone in his waistband, and he brought the cell phone up to his ear when he was playing so he could be so nonchalant. These kids want a moment on social media. They want to go viral. So they're trying to figure out, what can I do the most to get viral? That's stepping over somebody, hanging on the rim, being on the cell phone, things like that. And I think that's out of control and needs to stop. Anyway, Rick, I'll let you answer this question.
Well, as an event operator, you hope and pray that you go through an event and there's no viral moments, or, in any case that you have any incident that involves fighting. We've been pretty lucky over the years that we basically enforce the rules. We tell the coaches at the travel ball level, you cannot use profanity. If you use profanity, it's a technical foul. If you get 2 technical fouls, you're ejected from the event for the day. And we do enforce that because, at the youth travel ball level, you'd be surprised at the amount of profanity that's being used. It's really appalling. It is sad to say. It's just, for some people, it's a common everyday language. That being said, we do take a lot of precautions. And of course, the other thing too, is we have to have, at youth travel ball events, we have to have a lot of security. People, complain about price and admission and stuff. But if you knew what we paid for security for an event, you're at Rock Hill and you're doing a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, you're going to have 4 to 6 police officers. You're spending $8,000 just on security for the weekend. And people just don't understand that. But I think for us, we try to set the tone. We put up signs saying, there's no profanity, abusive language toward officials will not be tolerated. We even gone as far as every event that we do, we give a little business card. And it basically says that as a spectator, you have a right to cheer for your team, but you don't have the right to use profanity or use abusive language toward officials or anybody else. And when they come in, we give those cards to every single spectator that comes into the building. Now, does it have an effect? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, because it's just hard to legislate, behavior. And that's the biggest thing that we have to deal with youth sporting events is behavior problems. And it does filter over to the high school level. But I think at that point in time is we have to really emphasize from a coaching standpoint, listen, we just can't tolerate that type of behavior. And especially if I'm going in as a coach and playing a high rivalry game, and I know that there's going to be some tense moments, you're going to have to sit there and spend equal amount of time talking to your kids and saying, listen, we can't tolerate this. You're not doing the gun salutes and, you're not chipping at the other opposing team. You're not going to get those viral moments because it's going to penalize us. And go back to the event with Chambers. At that point in time in the game, Chambers was up 29-23. Mm. And, so, North Meck gets 4 free throws and it changes the momentum in the course of the game.
Yeah.
And I think, Chambers end up losing by like 2 or 4 points.
Yes.
Now, here's another thing that, could have happened. It didn't happen in that particular game. In that particular game, the player who was on the bench got the technical foul. Okay. That technical foul is assessed to the head coach. Now, when Coach Frazier got his technical, that technically is his second technical of the game.
Go.
So he has to go. Now, I do think there's a situation, probably the official made the correct call in reprimanding the player. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can argue whether that should be a technical or ejection. But I also think there's a situation where an official in a heated game can also, again, manage the game.
Right.
And you got a situation where you got 2 rivalries. And y'all have seen Coach Frazier numerous times.
Yeah.
I've never seen the guy get a technical. He usually behaves himself in a most professional way on the sideline.
Right.
I think sometimes as an official, you can go over there and just explain the situation. This is the state ruling. He is ejected. I'm abiding by the rule.
Right.
And don't be so quick to tee up the coach in that situation.
Go ahead, Ray.
I think he could have just told Coach Frazier, like, you need to go back to your bench. He could have removed himself from that situation. It didn't look like Coach Frazier was too animated. Obviously, we don't know exactly what he was saying. But I agree with you. I think you have to, as an official, you have to understand, situation, the game. You understand that this is a rivalry game. You already kicked the kid out. Like, you can have a conversation with Coach Frazier, and then that just needs to be the end of it. I don't think a second technical should have been assessed, but you know how that goes sometimes.
Yeah, and that kid has sit out 2 games, and I don't know, how serious role he plays on Chambers. Go ahead, Gary.
Back when I was coaching, Vicki Hamilton put in a rule.
That's what I was getting at.
She was at school system AD at the time. She put in a rule that whatever suspension the state gave you, CMS doubled. Okay, so if you got a 2-game suspension from the state, it was 4 with CMS. And I don't know if that rule has been changed.
It does because it's still because it's still a belt.
But you know what? When she did that, the ejections and stuff slowed for a long time, but they have picked up again. Randall, if you're Jacoby Davis of West Charlotte, you're Dwayne Lewis of North Meck, we got the game of the year coming up on Tuesday night. Is there something you talk to your teams about behavior-wise?
I'm talking to everybody. Like Coach Lewis said, like, we're going to keep the chirping down to a minimum. There's no way to stop that. Those kids know each other. They've grown up together. Like, we have to be realistic. But like we said, the gun gestures, all that stuff, like I'm showing this situation in film. We're not getting caught up in this.
Right.
You're
going to show the highlight we just had.
Oh, 100%. We're not getting into the viral moment. I'm telling my coaching staff, like, hey, we got to make sure if something does happen, we keep everybody on the bench. Nobody steps on the floor. Like, we're going to check all these boxes before we even show up to the gym Friday night.
All right. Well, speaking of West Charlotte, Richard was at the game when West Charlotte's J9 Singh made his debut. They beat Chambers 73-66. We seem to be talking about these same 3 teams a lot. There was a lot of consternation about J9 Jordan in West Charlotte. They were already number 1 in 8A. Adding him, Richard, what does it do for the Lions?
Well, it certainly gave them more options. And after Ja'Kai Wade fouled out, he came on and was really the difference in the game in overtime. Now, it did not seem that it was a seamless transition. He came off the bench. He didn't make much of an impact early on. West Charlotte did kind of what they normally did. They're kind of big 3 ball handlers. Coleman, Womack, and Presley dominated the ball. When Singh was in the game, I think he drove to the basket maybe once or twice in the game. So he seemed to be dutiful and trying to plug himself into the game plan. And that was what Coach Davis told me about him when I interviewed him after the Hillside game, when the expectation was that Singh was going to be able to play within a week. So he did what was advertised, and particularly so in the overtime period when he was a difference maker for them to win that game, because Chambers gave them all they had and more. I mean, West Charlotte really had to battle to win that game.
Do you think that he's going to put them over the top if they weren't already over the top?
Well, I did not see much of a dump it down post up play. He looks like his game, even though he's taller, is very similar to the 3 ball dominant guys they have now.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't know that I can say what he'll do other than just be another option. And they've got 3 talented ones and really a 4th with Wade on the block. So it gives them 5 really efficient scoring options on the court at one time, and that's assuming they don't have Major Cross or some of the other the guards that are out there that kind of facilitate for them. I mean, it gives them another scoring option. And truthfully, his difference was, I think he had 3 rebounds. He stole a pass. I mean, he looked to be a very West Charlotte style defensive player. I mean, He seemed to fit right in on that part of the team. And that's probably at this point where he's probably most helpful.
Gary, how do you make this work? You're going to bring in a dynamic wing. You already have 3 dynamic wings.
I'll tell you how I did it. When I had a team that went to the state championship, 8 of those girls went on to play college basketball at some level. And of course, you can only play with 5. and you have to sit down and say, look, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes. And explain it to them like, if you got 3 point guards, even though they may be the 3 best on the team, you might be better. You have to talk to one kid about, hey, I need you to run with the second unit, and you'll get more shots. You'll get to handle the ball more and that type of thing, and play your position, your natural position, if you run with the second unit. And at the end of the game, the minutes are gonna be equal, but you have to do that. And you got to get the parents to buy into it too. It's tough, but if winning is the most important thing, and playing you and where you can have the most success, then I would break up that unit. I have, if you got 6 or 7 guys that can start, that are capable of starting. I tell them, hey, it's based on matchups. If this is a guard-oriented team, we might go smaller. If it's a inside-oriented team, we might go bigger. But I tell them game to game, practice to practice. That's how we're gonna do it.
That's gonna be a hard sell in the 32-minute high school game. I hear that in the 48-minute pro game and the 32-minute high school game. It goes by pretty fast.
It's hard, but if they value winning and value individual success, it's hard to have, that team I was telling you about. I had 7 players that averaged between 10 and 13 points a game.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anybody. And the year before that, I had the most dominant player ever, and we didn't get nearly as far in the state playoffs. Had a player averaging 25 and 15 a game. Yeah. And she graduated, and the next year we went to the state championship. So
that's a good point. But I mean, some of the best teams I've seen in Mecklenburg County have been teams that had guys averaging 10, 11, 12 across the board.
Yeah.
And West Charlotte may have to do that. I mean, I know the two, Coleman and Contra Womack, are both like 17 a game, and maybe they'll have to give up some. I don't know about the sit on the bench part, but I think maybe giving up some shots.
5 on out there.
All right.
I think that the most important thing is, and we hit on some last week, is just develop that chemistry and just still into the fact that this young man said, listen, I got 3 guys that are really scoring, between 13 and 18 points a game. I'm going to need you more on the defensive end than more on the offensive end, and everything else will come into play. And again, the most important thing is these guys have a chance to play for a state championship. If they all buy in, and unfortunately in today's time, the coach has to have a psychology degree as well in order to
Absolutely. All right. We talked about the Chambers girls earlier. They're trying to get it back together again. They were once the dominant program in North Carolina. They beat West Charlotte the other night. And Richard caught up one of their stars, Amia Martin.
This win for you guys.
Say that one more time.
How big was this win for you guys?
Boy, sir, it was tough. They were talking a lot, so we had to bring it home.
You had 2 big late 3-pointers that kind of got you on the winning way.
It was needed. All I said was needed. It was extremely needed.
Obviously, you're in a tough conference. How does this help you guys moving forward?
Hey, it's my first time, so it's tough, but I'm getting through it the best I can. It's me and my team, so it's us together.
Obviously, a big rivalry.
A huge rivalry. It's tough.
How important was it to come? I mean, they took the lead in the 3rd quarter. Was there any kind of concern, panic at all?
It was kind of concern, kind of panic, but it just control the emotions for me. That's something I need to work on personally, but controlling my emotions, I feel like I did a pretty good job doing that this tonight, but that's all I really got to say.
Yeah, I love her personality and her emotion, and how loud was it in that gym?
Well, they wouldn't close the door of the rest of her teammates celebrating. So that was what was going on, and I think she was kind of like, you're trying to take me away from this, but she was very gracious in her time. So
no, that's
they
awesome.
played really well, and West Charlotte gave them a tough game. But Chambers has got as good a size as I've seen on some high school girls basketball team. And obviously, we know how good North Meck and Mallard Creek are. So I'm somewhat surprised that both of those teams have kind of had their way with Chambers so far. I think Chambers pieces ought to be able to give them some trouble, and maybe they will down the road.
Yeah, that's a tough out to try to beat.
Yeah.
But I mean, North Meck and Malley Creek could very well would be 8A and 7A state champions, and they're in your
exactly.
That's just a tough road to hoe. Gary, I want to flip you to football real quick. Greg Jackham resigned as Ardrey-Kell's football coach. He's been at the school since 2007. He established the program as a consistent winner when he became head coach. How big a loss is this for Ardrey-Kell? How big a loss is this for CMS to lose another longtime coach?
Well, I think first you look at Ardrey-Kell. They're going to have trouble unless they hire from within, replacing him. But, you know, with all CMS coaches, I think it comes down to money versus time. Because if you want to be good, you got to put in the time. And when I say time, I'm talking about at least 11 months, if not 12 months a year.
Yeah.
But you're only getting paid. You know, we broke it down in football season where it was like regular season, it averaged $6 an hour. And if you make it, you know, to the playoffs, it drops down to $5 an hour. And that's just a burden. I think he's going in administration. Administrators make far more money, not only than coaches, but than teachers, you know. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a lot of time the thing that you love is not the thing that's convenient. And, you know, I think he's making a move for financial reasons.
Yeah, these guys got to take care of their families. We're seeing some action, Gary, around the city with coaching changes. Any of these jump out at you? The one that jumps out to me is Mike Broderick's going back to Cali.
You know, I wasn't shocked that DJ took the Independence job because for most people, it looks like a lateral move.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Mike Broderick is the big one for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Going back, you know, a lot of times the old saying you can't go home again, and he's gonna give it a shot. I think it makes it easier for him. Is he retired? Is he going?
No, he's still working. But I think he was an assistant principal at the middle school that feeds Cali. But I think he's going to retire now and just be the football coach, I believe.
Yeah, that should make it easier that you don't have to work all during the day before you go to practice. But I'm not surprised anybody leaves CMS right now. I'm really not, and that's not to say that it's much better in other North Carolina school systems, because it's not.
Yeah.
You know, when I see coaches leave, I expect them to go south. You know, South Carolina, Georgia. But sometimes, you know, you need to change the scenery. Like I talked about last week, it's so important that you're in alignment with your administration, that the principal and the AD that hired you are going to back you because it's in their best interest to do so, that you all have the same goals.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question, Gary. Independence has an opening. They have a new principal that's moving over from Garinger. What should Independence do?
It just depends on how many of DJ's guys are going with him, and if any of them are ready to be a head coach. But of course, if I'm the new principal, I'm opening it up to everybody. I know he has reached out to some current head coaches around town. And so you may see somebody else make a system transfer move.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you're the principal of Independence, who do you hire as your football coach?
You going to put me on? Who would I hire as my football coach?
Yeah, you're on the record on TV and everything. Who do you hire as football coach?
I think I'd go to one of the successful schools like Huff and try to get one of their coordinators.
Okay, NFL way.
I try to go get a coordinator from a school, and I'm not singling out Huff. I just use them as an example. But a school that's had a lot of success lately, somebody maybe Weddington, you know, somebody that has a coordinator that has experienced a lot of success somewhere else, and see can they bring that to Independence.
All right. I couldn't get a name, but I want you to give a name. I couldn't get a name. All right, so we'll be right back after this commercial break with our players of the week and the rest of the show.
Hi, I'm Scott Fowler, sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer. I have been here 31 years, but you know what I never have had before here? A newsletter. I've got one now. It's free. I'd love you to sign up for it and get my take. Every single time I have a column, you'll see it first. Panthers, Hornets, college sports, high school sports, whatever controversies going on. Sign up for my free newsletter, and you will be able to get my column every single time earlier than anyone else.
All right, guys, we're back. We're talking preps. It's time for our players of the week. RC, we'll start with the young ladies. What you got?
Yes, man. Yes, sir. Avery Dettenberg over at Providence.
Oh, Avery what?
Dettenberg.
Is that how you say it, Dettenberg? Okay.
Yes, that's how you say it.
I thought it was like the timber.
Denver. She had 32 points, 8 assists, and 5 steals for Providence. Claire Frank at South Point, 23 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 threes for her in a win versus Forest View Tuesday night. A name we haven't seen this year very often, so I'm glad to see her back. Oshana Holland, her first 40 ball of the year in an 80-44 win over North Gas.
That wasn't her first 40 ball of the year. She had 50 balls earlier.
Yeah. Amani Barner at Myers Park, 15, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals, and a huge win versus Huff. And Mia Pisacano in a 70-45 win over Piedmont, made 9 3-pointers and finished with 29 points. I'm going to guess that the other 2 points were at the free throw line.
That's crazy to drop 9 of those things in the game. But I think Miss Holland might be mad at you, Randall, for picking somebody else as your mid-season player of the year. She's our reigning player of the year. She's dropping big numbers.
Yeah, I mean, she's on that list. We know where she'll finish at the end of the season. She's been there the last 2 years.
I mean, I don't know. She was telling me she went Miss Basketball, but I was like, you got to be player of the year to be Miss Basketball. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I love it.
That's your pick.
It is, and I stand by it.
Well, right now it ain't her.
It's not. So I think when it comes down to it, those 2 will probably be the last 2 standing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how her and Lanice finish the season.
Well, we're going to have our Mr. and Ms. Basketball finals coming up in just a couple of weeks. So that should be interesting to see what Richard Lewis, not Richard Walker, Richard Lewis and Randall come up with. And I get to just put it out there, and I send all the comments to them. All the comments. All right, Richard, boys players of the week.
Well, we've talked about Chacho Womack of West Charlotte several times this year in the 73-66 overtime win at Chambers. Womack had a game-high 28 points, and he's in conversation as far as moving up from the second team All-Observer to the first team. He's having that great of a year.
Ooh, okay.
Next up is 6'5" junior forward Nixon Wright, a very athletic wing, had a game-high 21 points, an upset win at Audrey Cale, and that was at Audrey Cale, and it ended their 13-game winning streak. And, we've talked about East Meck having the pieces. They're sitting 4-0 in their conference.
Yeah.
It's a dark horse to basically win that with the win at Audrey Cale. Next up is Grady Webb of Cusperson, made 6 of 8 3-pointers and had 25 points in an 80-51 win over Porter Ridge. And Cusperson's having a really good year this season. Next up is Josiah Bridges of West Meck, scored 11 of his team-high 21 points in the fourth quarter in the Tuesday night win over Myers Park. And someone that we used to see a lot of at Cannon, Austin Swartz, the former Cannon star, hit the game-winning basket, a 94-93 win over Xavier. The Miami transfer finished with 16 points, and he's having a great year in the Big East.
Yeah, Rich, I wanted to ask you about Chacho Womack. It's hard to stand out when you're at West Charlotte and you got a top 50 sophomore on your team, but this kid's having one heck of a year.
Yeah, the thing I found fascinating was when there was money on the table, late game situations, they gave the ball to Coleman, and it appeared Chambers wanted to keep Coleman from getting the ball. But
I would too.
It's a great problem for Jacoby A. Davis to have because he's really got Womack, Coleman, and AC Presley. All 3 can initiate the offense for him.
Yeah, they're going to be a problem. And Randall, I always say, if you know, when I write Schwartz and I put it in all capital letters and go across.
I was waiting for you to yell it when Rick said his name.
Yeah, I for you guys that don't know, I coached Austin twice when he was growing up, and he used to drive me crazy. And I used to always yell Schwartz, but he would drive me crazy. And but he's a one heck of a player, and I really got a kick out of watching this.
Schwartz for the tie. Off the mark, he missed it. Now a loose ball scramble. Schwartz gets it out. Throws it in! Oh, are you kidding me?
If you don't know Austin, that is so Austin to like miss the free throw to tie the game.
McDermott went to the locker room and told them that they were going to basically be the death of him. And he told Austin, like, just make the free throw next time. And Austin's response was, "Hey, coach, I don't do overtime."
There you go. That's so Austin. That is so Austin.
Yep.
That kid, he drive you crazy, but I mean, you can't help but love him. Like
that's the most accurate way to put it. Like that is him in a nutshell.
Yeah, he used to drive me crazy as a coach back in the day. All right, games of the week. Let's see. We got Myers Park and South Meck on Tuesday, Rick. That's going to be a big one, a big rivalry game. Myers Park's just a game back of Huff, and South Meck's looking for the big upset.
I think in this particular game is going to be which Myers Park team shows up. That's the biggest question. I do think Myers Park has the overwhelming edge as far as talent with Thomas Vickery, who's a high major prospect. And South Meck, has played well of late. That will be a very interesting game. I think it's a game that Myers Park, since they lost at West Mecklenburg earlier, this is a must win for Myers Park. And if they want to be in, contention for that number one spot in conference championship.
Randall, this is a Randall special game. What do you think here?
I don't know how we get to these Randall special games. I agree with Coach Rick. I think there's a huge game for Myers Park, especially coming off the win versus Huff on Friday night. You get to get on the road. I'm sure they'll be ready for this game. Huge rivalry game. Should be very entertaining, but I think the Mustangs find a way to get it done.
Yeah, and then we got a huge rivalry game, Butler at Independence, Richard Walker. These two teams in the conference they're used to being the game in the conference for the conference championship, and now they're playing in the conference where North Meck and West Charlotte, like it might be the game in the conference. But how big a game is this? Richard Walker, that's for you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I gotta stop with the Richards. Go ahead.
It's obviously quite a big game. I mean, you can't. The loser of this game walks away motivated, but the winner, sits at the top.
Well, they'll sit almost at the top, but yes, they got a chance to definitely make a move because North Meck and West Charlotte is going to lose, and there'll be one game out.
True, that's the point. And I was impressed with Butler early in the year and Independence, but it's an unforgiving conference again. We talked about it, I guess, on the text group. How in the world is Chambers 0-4 in conference play? I mean, it's unbelievable to me how hard they played these teams.
Yeah, the thing about that conference is you could have the 7A and 8A state champions in boys and girls out of the same conference.
Correct.
And the teams that don't win it could win it if they weren't in that division, which is crazy. Right. Gary, we talk about holler championships. And when I mean holler, we mean like yelling. Holler championships in football. Is North Meck at West Charlotte the holler championship of basketball?
Anybody that comes up against North, whether it's West Charlotte, the Chambers games always go to the wire.
Yeah.
I think the North Meck guys, they just kind of take it in and they come on the court with give us your best shot.
Right.
Whatever you got, we'll take your best shot.
Right.
And those teams give it, but somehow they always find a way to win. And that's the culture. And I think, most people say, well, they always got this player or that player, but they just play such good team ball. And the thing that people always overlook, they play great team defense.
They do.
They play great team defense. And so their defense is definitely going to get tested against West Charlotte.
West Charlotte has a lot of answers. West Charlotte's going to present North Meck with a lot of questions. Rick Lewis, can North Meck come up with the answers?
When's the last time West Charlotte's beaten North Meck?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I think the thing that holds in favor of West Charlotte this particular time is, North Meck, I know they have the winning tradition and winning culture, and they're very good defensively. But this North Meck team is a little bit smaller version of previous teams.
Yes.
And you look at the lineup, even at the guard position. I mean, how many times do you look at a high school team that your guards, your starting point guard 6'3", 6'4", and your shooting guards probably 6'3", 6'4". So I think the length and the athleticism, is probably going to be in a favor of West Charlotte. But I think the ability of West Charlotte to score between Womack, Presley, and also Coleman will be too much to overcome. And I think it's a situation where the game being at West Charlotte, I think it's a game they cannot afford to lose if they want to be in consideration for the top team in the state.
And Richard Walker, is this the game that Jaynon Singh gets loose in? Is this the game he gets comfortable? Is this enough time, or you think it's still going to take more time?
Well, it's interesting. Like I said, Friday or Thursday, they seemed to kind of slowly let him play, and he seemed to buy in. His value right now seems to be more on the defensive because he is very long and very athletic, and it seems to have really soft hands as far as rebounding goes.
Well,
it'll be interesting to see how much he plays and how much of an impact he makes, because when you look at West Charlotte, Wade's a pretty decent post player, but they really don't need to highlight him as much because the three ball dominant perimeter guys get the ball and can get to the rack without much help. But there is a scenario I could see where West Charlotte could run a lot of 5 down plays for Wade and be quite effective. They don't do it that much because they really haven't been forced to. It'll be curious to see if this is the kind of game where they try to do that, because as we know, beating North Meck, you need to kind of survive their 3-point blitz whenever that happens, because they're going to have a stretch in every game I've ever seen of them where they hit 3 or 4 in a row, and that kind of gets the crowd jacked up, gets them jacked up. And how does West Charlotte navigate that? And West Charlotte has defenders that should prevent that, but history will show that North Meck's going to have a little surge like that.
Yeah, well, that game.
And also, Langston, I want to mention one thing. When I watched the game on the live stream, the Huff game at North Mecklenburg before it went out with like 2 or 3 minutes to go in the game, the one thing that hurt North Meck in that game was the rebounding. It seemed like Huff got more offensive rebounds, and I think the key for North Meck is boxing out and limiting the amount of offensive rebounds for West Meck with their length and their athleticism. They're going to have to keep those guys off the board. Yeah. It's not the first chance opportunities that's going to hurt them. It's going to be the second chance.
That's a good point. Now, Gary, yes or no, is this a Holler championship or not?
Yeah.
It is a Holler championship. Okay, yeah. Just had to check. All right, Randall, on the girls' side, we got 2 huge girls' games. Cannon Providence Day was postponed from last week because Providence Day was fighting the flu bug. Is this a preview of the state championship game?
Yes. This is the state championship preview. I don't see a situation where either of these two aren't in the final. I think this is going to be a great game. Obviously, it could be a huge home win and statement game for Providence Day. I think for Cannon, when you look at their record, they've lost 6 games already, but people don't understand that they've been playing some really, really good competition.
Absolutely.
And those are the teams that they've been losing against. So I think this is going to be a really good game.
Give me a winner.
Well, let's see. We haven't messed with the Providence Day fans in a while. So look, I'm going to go Cannon victory on the road. And there you go. I'll be getting all the texts and emails and conversations. I'll probably be there Thursday night. This should be fun.
All right. He's going Cannon. All right. So Randall, Malik Creek's playing at North Meck. Malik Creek took round 1. If they take round 2, they're probably going to win the conference championship.
If they win this game, they will definitely win the conference championship. And I think this is a huge game for them. I did hear from some Malik Creek folks they're not happy about their positioning in the Sweet 16, and I told them, well, this is the perfect
Sweet 16, Randall.
This is the perfect week. If you're not happy with where you are, you got 2 huge games this week. You take care of business, and then you don't have to worry about it. So
I'm glad it was you, Randall, and not me. It's usually you.
But now they coming for you, Gary.
At Langston Wirtz is in charge of Sweet 16.
No, that's not true. All I do is copy and paste it. That's all I do. Gary, this is your favorite team, Malik Creek. How do you think?
Well, North is going to have to prove that they can play against a zone. Because the games that Malik Creek has won against them, even, when they were down 2 or 3 starters last year in the conference tournament, they zone North Meck, and North has trouble playing against zones for some reason. So they're going to see it again. North is going to have to prove that, when adversity strikes, they're not going to let 4 or 5 possessions in a row go where Lanice doesn't touch the ball.
Right.
And I think that's always their downfall. They forget who the best player in the state is.
I think. Well, wait. I thought O'Shawn and Holland had something to say about that. Gary's already giving Miss Basketball away too. Both of y'all. I was like, wow. It's
Lanice. But anyway, and Randall and I rarely agree on Player of the Year anyway. So
Randall picks it, but you influence it. Randall picks it. I'm just listening. All I'm doing is listening.
But but here's the biggest thing. We talk about who's going to win the conference championship.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking about seeding in the state playoffs. I was talking with a coach today, and we were talking about how this particular school is going to go undefeated in the conference and win their conference championship, and they're going to be like the 10th or 11th seed in the state, and they are undefeated in the conference. And, because that conference championship automatic, seed is gone.
Yeah, I think North Meck cannot afford to lose any more games if they don't want to go to Lake Norman. They may have a shot now to not go. They probably may have to go regardless, but they can't lose more than one.
Yeah.
So I think they got to win, but I also think North Meck can't play from behind, because if they get behind late, Malik Creek's going to spare the floor out, get the ball to Kiki Anderson, let them play Harlem Globetrotters, and they can't keep up with her, and she's going to go down the lane and score, get fouled, and go to the free throw line. It'll be a repeat of what you saw before. So I think it's important for North Meck to have a lead in the fourth quarter so they can play through Lanice and not have to worry about chasing those Malik Creek girls.
Yep.
My opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. All right, so we caught up with Ashton Pierce, the North Meck star guards going to Sacramento State. We asked him about the West Charlotte game, trying to win 3 state championships, why he decided to go to Sacramento State, all of that. We're going to play that interview, and then we're going to take a break and be back with more talk about it. What is it like, sir, to try to win 3 state championships in a row?
It's great. It's great. I got to try to do it. And I know my team, I got a great team around me this year that is able to do it. So I think we'll end up winning again.
How much pressure is there, though? Everybody's coming after you. The target's huge.
It's really none. It's basketball at the end of the day. You always want to be at the top, but, when you're at the top, people want to come get you. So you just got to stay patient, stay ready.
You guys have been really dominant the last couple of years, and people looked at you this year a little bit younger, not quite as big. We can get north. Do you feel like teams have a little bit more belief they can get you?
No, not at all.
No?
No, sir.
No, so it's no different than last 2 years, same exact thing.
I think so. We got great players that got to see the players we had last year.
Yeah.
So if they try to be like them and try to, I feel like put the things in that they work on into the game, and they'll be good.
Yeah. Tell me what it's like in North, because a lot of great players, including Isaiah Evans, who may be the greatest Viking ever, play JV the 9th grade year. Most guys come in there the middle school star. They don't want to sit and wait. How does Dwayne Lewis convince you guys to play JV?
I feel like for most, because I came into North my 9th grade year and I played varsity.
Mm-hmm.
So for the other kids that did play JV, I feel like it helps as development. So they get to kind of see like the role they'll be in, kind of like help on the JV team. And when they win and stuff like that, I feel like it translates to when we win, because I think they're like 31-0.
Yeah, but how do you avoid that pushback? Because most guys like, I ain't playing JV, I'm too good for that.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's like really a pushback, to be honest. I feel like some kids just wait their time, they're patient, and stay.
So tell me about Sacramento State. What was it that made you decide to go play for Mike Bibby all the way across the country?
It felt like home. I went up there on my visit, and it was my second It was my second visit, and I went to California, and it really just felt like home. That was it.
Yeah. Was Mikey Williams your host?
No, sir. Nope. I had Jaden T.
Okay. What was it like going around campus? I know it's pretty out there.
It was amazing. They have a whole bunch of trees and nice facilities for like just education. They got great gyms. I just love it.
Okay. You got West Charlotte coming up on Tuesday, the first two games with them, likely going to decide the conference championship. What is that atmosphere going to be like?
It's going to be crazy. I'm ready. Team's been working. West Charlotte is a great team. They got great players, a great coaching staff, and we got the same thing. So it's going to be better that night.
Is that one of the games you kind of look forward to every year to play them? Why so?
Yeah, just this year because, you hear the noise of, like, Chambers when they have Marcus Kerr and, like, Taurus. But then this year I feel like it's Kahari Coleman and Chacho Womack, two great players, and they try to, like, make them a duo. So I feel like always when you got a team in your conference that is teams like that got a whole bunch of noise, you want to kind of, like, quiet down.
Okay. Gary?
Yes, actually, I'm glad you're carrying on that North Meck tradition. I'm an old North Meck grad myself. How has Coach Lewis changed from when you were a freshman to now as a senior? Have you seen a change in him with each year? Because even though y'all are 2-time state champions, it's a different team each year. How has he changed since you've been there?
I feel like Coach Lewis, he's always Coach Lewis, and whatever happens and how he decides to coach is the way he's going to do it, but it's always going to be the way to win. So he just got to adjust. That's all it is.
Is Dwayne a shy guy, a loud guy, a quiet guy? What's he like?
I mean, off the court, he's the greatest person ever. On the court, it's like, I would say, you kind of don't want to mess up. And when you don't want to mess up, and you got somebody that's going to hold you accountable, it's better than having a coach that's just quiet and doesn't really like tell you like what you're doing wrong. So you kind of don't want to mess up, but like off the court, on the court, it's the same thing.
What makes him the greatest guy in the world off the court? That was your quote.
I would say he's the greatest guy off the court because he's nice. He talks to everybody. We bonding and stuff like that. He never really like I would say not up to talk. Like he always talking. It's just like it's great.
Absolutely. Well, Ashton, man, congratulations on the success. Good luck on Tuesday. We'll definitely be out there to watch you guys play West Charlotte, okay?
Okay, but appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.
Hi, this is Randall Clark, the host of Talking Preps. We are back with another basketball season. Join us each Monday to get the latest news on Charlotte area boys and girls hoops. We've got rankings, predictions, player interviews, and more. Watch the show every Monday at noon on charlotteobserver.com, streaming on all platforms Monday at 9 p.m. Don't miss the #1 high school basketball show in North Carolina. Join us each week.
All right, guys, we're back. We're talking preps. It's time for my favorite part of the show. I keep promising I'm going to have the theme music fixed. I don't have it fixed. But we're going to play the old theme music and let these guys go at it. I'm not Alex Bass. I don't have his voice or his memory, but we are going to do talking preps. All right, Gary, you said you're going to receive and not let Randall start. So you want the ball first.
Okay, yep.
So who are the best young coaches, 5 years experience or less in high school basketball?
I'm going to start out with the girls, and I'm going to say Kendria Holmes at Queens Grant.
Good call.
At Queens Grant.
Kendria, I want you to know that I said I like you as one of the best coaches around.
And I like the guy up at Huff. I think his last name is Butts.
Yeah.
I don't remember his first name, but I watch them even when they lose. I like how they run their sets. And then in the boys, the guy at West Meck, Ewell, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Doing an awesome job over there.
Yeah.
So those would be my picks as young coaches to keep an eye on.
Randall.
I'm gonna stick with the boys side on this question, and I'm gonna go with the first year guys. I'm gonna go with Coach Hines at Myers Park. I thought he's done a really, really good job with a really, really young team. not a lot of experience there, so everybody's kind of learning at the same time. Coach Boyce over at Charlotte Christian, I think.
Yes, good call.
I think not a lot of people were excited about Charlotte Christian basketball. I think that he's got that program turned in the right direction. I think he's done a really, really good job in his first year, and I expect him to keep building. And then last but not least, my guy up north, Mr. Bo May.
Yeah.
Obviously got the huge win at versus North last week, but I think Bo's done a really, really good job. I like the fact that he was able to, talk to some other people and get some advice before he took this journey, but he's done a great job so far.
Yeah, I like Jalen Dillard at Morris Park as a girls coach, and I definitely like Bo May as a boys coach. It just seemed like yesterday I was covering Bo May as a player at Huff, and now he's coaching at Huff and doing really well, has him off to a 13-3 start, first place in the conference, and really on track to win the conference championships. It's been pretty phenomenal. All right, Randall, better basketball product, college basketball or pro basketball?
College basketball. It's not even close. It's not even close. See, this is why he should have received this one. I think college basketball this year we have some really, really great, amazing talent, but I think the teams, there's great games. I watched Texas Tech versus Houston earlier today, and I mean that's how the game of basketball is supposed to be played. Two teams that really get after it on defense. Texas Tech shoots the ball really well from three, and so it becomes one of those games where if they make threes, they'll win. If Houston's able to keep them from making threes, they'll win. So it's one of those cat and mouse kind of games. And I just think that the college basketball, you got kids that compete. They compete almost every night. Like you get upsets, but at least the kids play hard and show up, as opposed to the other way.
Gary?
He's going to agree. He don't have no choice but to agree.
Yeah, I gotta agree. This college basketball, I went from being a big NBA fan, a Charlotte Hornets season ticket holder for over a decade, and I can't stand looking at the NBA. It's.
Can you even look at it because there's so many different channels? I can't figure out where it is.
First of all, you can't figure out what night is on what channel.
And that's how the NBA comes on like once a quarter. I'm like, I'm done.
And one of the things that even made me watch in the past is I always like Inside the NBA with Kenny, Charles, and Chuck.
It's been on
I don't even know when they're coming on.
It's only been on like 4 times all year, no lie.
Yeah. Somebody called me today and said, Shaq and them on today. I was like, oh, they covered. They don't give you enough notice to let you know that they're gonna be covering the game.
Every Tuesday and Friday at 2 a.m. they will come on.
But the thing about it, I just don't. It's like they lose all fundamentals at the pro level, and they should be more fundamentally sound than any other group.
Yeah,
they've taken 3 and 4 steps on a drive, and they've created rules talking about a gather step. Nate Smith ain't never say anything about a gather step. That's traveling. 4 steps is traveling. 3 steps is traveling.
Giannis can get to the basket from half court with 1 dribble.
And I've seen guys.
Look at Randall laughing.
I've seen guys get to the rim and pass up a layup to throw it out to the three. That just kills me. So,
you remember how we used to teach the 3-on-1 drill and everybody go to the rim and now they can spread out, goes out.
Yeah, everybody runs to the corner. On the 3-on-2, great. Everybody runs to the corner.
I'm sorry, 302. Yeah, it's different. I will say though, Amazon Prime basketball games are phenomenal, and the post game
they do a really good job of
that is phenomenal.
Talking basketball.
Yeah,
I love Inside the NBA because
it's funny.
Because it's funny. Like I love Chuck going at Shaq. I love that aspect of it. But when it comes to actually talking the game of basketball and showing things, the crew on Amazon has done a phenomenal job. UD, Dirk, Steve Nash.
Yeah,
they do.
If you're a hoop head, that is the show to watch. And their broadcast is phenomenal as well.
Now when the spring comes, I will watch the NBA playoffs because they play harder, and they don't blow the whistle as much. You're not going to see any games in the 130s in the NBA playoffs.
I just hope they consolidate the games a little more in the playoffs. They don't make you have first game on Prime, second game on, something else. ESPN, third game
on a
on
particular series to a particular network.
That'll be
got every game on this network from these two teams.
That
way, at least you know where to find it. I don't even know where to find the games.
That is the hard part. All right, Gary. What is the hardest thing to teach in youth and high school basketball?
Shot selection. Okay. Because first of all, we got to know situations. When is a good shot? When is a good shot for player A may not be a good shot for player B, or it may not be a good shot for player C. This player can shoot threes. This one wants to shoot threes.
Right.
And, that type of thing. The hardest thing to teach is shot selection. I even in college, I'm watching games all day today because, I'm waiting on Ice Mageddon to hit because, and I'm looking like, that's not a good shot for you.
You may not be watching games after Ice Mageddon hits.
Yeah. And I'm like, God, that's not a good shot. So to me, it's shot selection. And at the high school and youth levels, because we don't have a shot clock, that should be easier to teach because you're not playing against the clock. Whereas, at the college and pro level, a lot of times they take the shots that they do is because of the shot clock.
Right.
But I think that's the hardest thing to teach is shot selection.
Randall.
I think at a youth level, it's really just teaching the game and explaining to kids that there's more ways to impact winning other than just scoring. I think sometimes you get kids who are just worried about points, and if they're not scoring, they're not doing the other stuff. So I think explaining to kids the importance of being the best defender on the floor, being the best rebounder on the floor, being a good teammate, and even when you're not making shots, there's still ways for you to stay on the floor and help us win. Is super important. I think on the high school level, something that I never thought I would see where, effort and playing hard used to just be mandatory. You didn't really have to coach that. I think you have to coach that more. And it ties back into what we talked about earlier. Like everybody's worried about these viral moments. Everybody's worried about being on social media. I don't want to get dunked on. I don't want to fall. So I'm going to go out here and not play as hard as I can because I'm worried about what other people are going to say or what's going to be posted online about me. I think that's something that's very different now. And, I think that's one of the hardest things to teach. And it kind of feeds into what I'm going to talk about at the end of the show.
All right. Randall, what can high school administrators, principals, and athletic directors do to enhance high school basketball?
I think you kind of got to treat it like college in a sense. I think the fact that these kids have theme nights is very cool, but I think as principals and athletic directors, you also have to, come together with the student council maybe and find, other ways to get kids into the gym, whether it be a free throw contest or, free hot dogs or pizza. You just have to be creative and think about ways to get kids into the gym. I think some of these schools and the themes that they have are very, very cool. But I think, when you're playing every Tuesday and Friday, it's not like football to where it can just be a weekly thing. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. So, figuring out ways where we can, do some activities to have kids show up is important.
Gary.
Since they can't dictate pay to the coaches, that comes from downtown. I think the best way is to make it easier for the head coach to structure the program during the day. And what I mean by that, at one time when I was an active teacher, full-time teacher, at one of the schools I worked in, one of the things they did to help the coaches and the players is for example, football players were the only ones that had weight training fourth block. Okay. Third block, it was only weight training class was for basketball, males and females. And then second block was for all the other athletes. And so if you didn't play a sport, you had to get a coach's recommendation to get in a particular weight class based on the sport that you play. Okay. And not only could you do weight training, but you could work on skill development for that particular sport during the day.
Right.
That's really helpful. So kids don't have to stay after school to get skill development. They're getting it as a part of their class. And so that was helpful. And also one year when I was all the staff who coached football, they had the same planning period. So, after they did their whatever departmental issues they had to take care of for their class, they had time to meet as a staff during the day. And that cut down on some of the hours they spent after school or on the weekend because they could do it during the school day. So, that helped me a lot when I was a coach, especially because I coached 2 sports most of my career. Is making that schedule that day so you don't have to spend as much time after school doing sports activities if you can do it during the school day.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, that is a busy Talking Prep show. I hope we actually have games on Tuesday night. Not sure what the weather's going to do and if that is going to push the schedule back a day or into a week. Don't know, but we'll be around next week with another show. That is Gary Richmond, the retired CMS coach. That is Randall Clark, the number one.
Not going to get around to his final moment?
Oh, my bad.
He said he had something to say.
No, my bad. I'm looking at the clock thinking we getting football-ish heavy, and I forgot. Randall, final thought.
Hey, one thing that I realized this week just watching games is the importance of being able to play hard, but play hard all the time, especially when your shot's not falling. I know that when you're making shots and things are going well, it's easy to defend and to play hard. But, one thing that you can definitely control, players, is the effort and energy that you give on the defensive side. You can't control if the ball goes in the hole every night, but you can control your energy and effort on the defensive side. And just because you're not making shots does not give you a reason not to be able to defend, not be able to rebound, not give you a chance to play hard on the other end of the floor.
All right, cool. All right, so can I do it now, Gary? Permission?
Go for it.
I appreciate you, Gary.
That's Gary Richmond, retired CMS coach. That is Randall Clark, the number one trainer I know. That's Richard Walker, as I said, the only guy in Charlotte's worked longer than me. And Rick Lewis, who's the number one voice of high school basketball. You guys heard it again tonight. I'm Langston, and we are done talking preps.